Hi, I'm Lori Grunin, Senior Editor with CNET, and this is the Panasonic Lumix DMC-G2. With this update to the G1, Panasonic adds video capture, which was missing from its predecessor. But it also endowed the G2 with a touchscreen, which makes it the first in any consumer interchangeable lens camera, and that includes DSLRs. The company did a very nice job with the implementation as well. The touchscreen enables capabilities like touch focus and touch metering, which have been available in point-and-shoots for a few generations. But there's still plenty of direct access buttons and navigation controls so that you're not stuck using the touch when it's not the optimal interface. You can do almost everything both ways, except navigate the menus. And you can disable selective aspects of the touchscreen operation, such as quick menu. Not only is touch focus a nice feature to have, but the G2 allows you to directly access any of the settings. While touchscreen operation is pretty well done, there's one infuriatingly frustrating aspect to it. If you're in single area autofocus mode and you touch the screen when it's not clear that you're going for one of the settings, the camera assumes you want to change your focus area and drops you into that interface. Plus, it moves the focus area to wherever you touched. The G2 uses basically the same body as the G1. I like the rubberized overlay and the large, comfortable grip. One of my least favorite changes between the G1 and G2 is the relocation of the SD slot from the grip to the battery compartment. Yes, it's a very common location, but it's really annoying if you use a tripod, and it's a bit awkward if you take the card out frequently. Panasonic doesn't skimp on the switches and dials in this camera. There's a custom mode which lets you access 3 batches of custom settings. It's a bit hard to decipher which settings can be saved, even with the help of the manual. For example, it seems like it won't save shutter speeds in still photo modes, but it will in video mode. Though that's not uncommon, in my book it's aggravating and counterintuitive that you can save all of the settings surrounding a shutter priority mode except for the most important one, the shutter speed. A big switch on the dial lets you choose among the drive modes, which are unchanged from the G1. As with the GF1, you can register up to 6 faces in the camera memory with names and birthdays, priority for autofocus and exposure, and a custom focus icon. In this camera, the notable nicety remains the bracketing, which supports up to 7 frames and 2 stops in either direction. For video, which maxes out at 30 frames per second 720p, you can set encoder type, quality, metering, 4 levels of intelligent exposure, and 4 levels of wind filtering. You have a little bit of manual control during movie capture. There's a faux aperture adjustment setting called peripheral defocus, and there's a limited ability to change shutter speeds. But finding them both requires a slog through the manual to discover them. For example, to change the shutter speed in movie mode, you press the button labeled with aperture and garbage icons, which then brings up text that says flicker red cancel, at which point the scroll dial lets you choose one of the yellow highlighted numbers from 50, 60, 100, and 120. I'd never have guessed that that's the way to set the shutter speed. Like the other Panasonics we've tested, the G2 is pretty fast. Both the LCD and the EVF are bright and sharp, as well as sufficiently high resolution to manually focus and judge sharpness. However, the camera suffers from the typical problems when it comes to shooting action with an EVF or an LCD. Rating the image quality on this camera turned out to be a toughie. On one hand, it delivers accurate color and exposures, even on its defaults. While several of the preset options do induce some color shifts, they're not as egregious as I've seen on many consumer digital SLRs. Panasonic manages to produce exceptionally bright, saturated colors without significantly shifting the hues. But it also seems to be the noisiest in its generation, with visible artifacts down as low as ISO 200. They're exacerbated by Panasonic's default combination of noise reduction and sharpening algorithms, but even doing my own processing in Adobe Camera Raw yielded better, but not as good as they should be, results. With the G2's defaults, too many photos look good at small sizes, but up close look like they've been taken with a point-and-shoot. They're crunchy with that over-sharpened, false level of detail look. At ISO 100, however, the default settings don't introduce artifacts as they do at higher ISO sensitivities. They have cleaner edges and lack noise patterns. The image looks quite natural and not at all digital. There's tons to like about the G2, including the photo quality, if you're not as nitpicky as me. While it's not as compact as some competitors, it counters them with a built-in EVF and an articulating touchscreen. As with any EVF-centric model, I don't recommend it if you're planning to shoot action. That means kids and pets, too. But for all other types of photography, this is a pretty strong contender. I'm Lori Grunin, and this is the Panasonic Lumix DMC-G2.